Hello again, room one. It's now time for Tuesday's lesson. But before we start, maybe I'll answer a few burning questions, which I'm getting from a lot of people. So one of them is, oh gee, it must be nice to have all this time at home, not have to go to school or do any work at all. What do you do with your time? And sadly, the answer is not much, because in order to cause relief from the pain, I have a bunch of medicine, which they give me, but it doesn't really take away the pain, it just makes you kind of dopey and fuzzy, so you don't care so much that it hurts, even though it still does. In order to make the pain go away, you have to splint it. Now, in the olden days, they used to wrap an ace bandage around your chest really, really tight, but they've decided that that's actually not a good thing for you, because it means you can't breathe properly. So what they do nowadays is they tell you to either self-splint, which means you hold your hand and push down on the sore side, or the best solution is to actually lie on the sore side. I know, it seems a little weird, right? I've got a broken rib and you want me to lie with all my weight on the broken rib. Turns out they're right. Anyways, so in order to make myself feel better, I spend most of my day lying on my side in bed. We're talking like 18 hours a day here. And I've tried knitting sideways, and it just doesn't work, okay, because the needles are all like in the wrong direction. And you really can't watch videos sideways because you start to get sort of a headache, woozy feeling from watching everything in the wrong direction. And you can read a little bit, but then you start to get an arm cramp from holding the book. So most of the time, I just sleep. Yeah, not that exciting. Anyway, tomorrow I'll answer another question. So, today's lesson. Today you are going to need your highlighted bee nesting and life cycle sheet from yesterday. I hope you didn't throw it out. There was a message saying don't throw it out. You're going to need writing instruments, probably a ruler, and a language book, because today we're going to be doing some bookwork. So, you can give me a pause, run off and get what you need, and come back. I'll be here and waiting. Okay. So, as you remember, yesterday we spent some time highlighting important things that we thought about the bee and its nesting and life cycles. And you should all have a sheet that sort of looks similar to this one here with a bunch of highlighting on it. So what we're going to do today is we are going to start writing down this information in a different format. You're going, well, why can't I just keep my sheet? Because in order to make a report, we often have to rewrite the information in our own words. And it's kind of a three-step process. First, we read the information, we take notes about the information, and finally, we write our report. An essay does the exact same thing, by the way. First, you read the book that the teachers asked you to write an essay on, you make notes on the book and do an outline, and then you finally get around to writing it. Remember I said we're doing little baby steps? We're learning the same technique for one that will later apply to another? Well, that's what today is. So, in your book, you're going to need to divide your page into 3 columns. Don't worry, I know that these letters are all backwards. So what I have done is I have sent in, and Richard has a copy, or the reader has a copy, what the headings are on a white piece of paper. Do not make a photocopy of this. Okay, I want it in your book. Too much paper we're going to lose. Okay, the only reason you have this is so that you can see the headings. I have a date in the corner. Please put a date. And I have a title, which even I can't read backwards. It says Reports for Nonfiction, and then I have a subtitle, Bees, Nesting, and Life Cycles, because that's the article that we are working on today. Okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to rewrite some of this important information into this chart. So let's take a look. So the first column says an interesting point, and you need to have 3 of these minimum. Okay, there may be more than 3. You may have found 5 things, 6 things that were interesting. You may have just 3, but there are at least 3 interesting things here. For each of the things we find, we also have to put some support or extra information. So it's great to say there are 3 different kinds of bees, but we have to provide some extra info on each of those points. Okay? The last column is related to what idea. Now, this is the most difficult one to wrap your head around. So I'm going to suggest you leave this column blank until the end of the exercise when you've finished filling in the other two columns. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your highlighted B stuff. I've got mine. And you're going to grab your notebook. And I would hit pause and roll your notebook up so that it looks like mine. Okay? Do that now. I'm waiting. It's all good. The reason I want you to have it ready is because we're going to do the first interesting point together, and I want you to have a space to write it. Then I'm going to ask you to go off, finish the exercise on your own, and then check it, because I have sent in again another control sheet or an error sheet that is with Richard or the reliever that you can look at. Okay? Your points may be different than mine, but the ones that I have sent in are the critical ones or the key ones that you need to have picked up on. Okay? You'll get better with this over time and practice, and don't worry, there's going to be practice. And you're going, oh, yes, yes, yes. You haven't had language for a couple weeks now. You have to have some language, and this is it. Okay, so for the nesting and life cycles of bee, I think the first interesting fact for me was that there are 3 different kinds of bees: social bees, solitary bees, and parasitic bees. So under my interesting point column, I took a pen and I wrote the following statement. Not all bees live in hives. There are 3 types, and then I put a colon, because that means what follows next is a list. Social, solitary, and parasitic. Okay, that was my first interesting point or fact. Now, I need to add some support to this. What proof do I have of any of this? I mean, I could just be making these names up or these facts up. Well, you have your article that's highlighted. Let's see if there's any information in there that we could put against this point. Well, there was the one about the numbers. Only 500 of more than 20,000 species of bees are social. Ah, there's one supporting that. So, under the support and information column, I put a dash, or a bulleted point if you prefer, like a dot, and I said only 500 of more than 20,000 species are social. And a note to myself, I put in brackets, lives in hives. It's important. And then, oh, I remember the other one. There was the one under the solitary bees, and it said the vast majority of bees are solitary. So, another important support information for the idea that not all bees live in hives was the vast majority of bees are solitary species, and in brackets I've put live by themselves. Okay? So, your interesting point, not all bees live in hives. There are 3 types: social, solitary, and parasitic. Your support statements, or your information that support this. 1. Only 500 of more than 20,000 species are social. They live in hives. 2. The vast majority of bees are solitary species. They live by themselves. Okay? So, you need to go away and come up with at least 2. I have 4 in the one that I've sent in, but some people may have 5 or 6. Okay? So, there needs to be information under the interesting points. There needs to be information under support and information. Now you're going, oh God, Carly, what about that related to what idea column? What are you trying to tell me with this? I've given you kind of an easy one to start, guys. Okay? I'm not a terrible person. This whole article is related to one idea, really. It's related to the idea that there are different lifestyles that the bee has. So perhaps you'll find that all of these interesting facts and ideas are related to the idea that there is different lifestyles for the bee species in the world. Okay? If you're still very unclear on this, do not panic. Leave that column blank. Okay? I want you to go check my control one that I sent in, and I want you to look at my related to what idea column, just so you can sort of see where my brain is coming from. If that still doesn't clarify for you, leave it blank. You'll have a chance to practice again on Wednesday and Thursday, so don't worry about it too much. Okay? So, for Wednesday, you need to have your columns finished, at least columns 1 and 2, interesting point and support and information. Column 3, if you can, related to what idea. Have checked it against mine, okay? And at this point, you can recycle the B fact sheet if you like. You don't need it anymore, okay? Talk to you later, guys.